Is there a speaker?
Already.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Dear Chairman, and today's speaker, Narasimhan Elangovan, Ranjit, Alan Joseph from Managing Committee, and other distinguished senior professionals and friends. Today we are having another virtual CPE meeting, which is very important during this time. It's an Excel and Tally as audit tool. We have our speaker, CA Narasimhan Elangovan from Bangalore. So I request our chairman, CA Roy Varghese, to welcome the speaker and all the participants.
Good afternoon, seniors, colleagues, and friends in profession. Welcome to ICA Elangovan branch webinar on Excel and Tally as audit tool. Respected seniors and colleagues and friends, as per WHO reports, globally as on yesterday, there are 1.27 crores of confirmed COVID-19 positive cases and 5.66 lakhs deaths. India in third position now with 8.78 lakh positive cases. It is as if we have to live with COVID-19 till a vaccine is invented. In Kerala, as you know it very well, the situation is very critical with more and more community spread cases reporting every day. Trivandrum and Kochi is under the threat of community spread, and many of the areas are declared containment zones. It is requested to everyone to take utmost care and precaution and help prevent the spread of this pandemic. Ensure that we follow, as professionals, we follow all the guidelines given by the government and health authorities and stay safe and healthy. Friends, with the use of computer-assisted audit techniques is gaining popularity with auditors as well as with the clients they serve. Under the present situation, when COVID-19 is spreading its net everywhere, the importance of computer-assisted audit technique is gaining more and more importance. Today, we are discussing about two important computer-based audit tools that will help the auditors, the professionals, to discharge their professional duties more effectively and efficiently. That is Excel and Tally as audit tools. Tally software has a lot of features that are specifically relevant and useful for us as professionals for undertaking internal auditing and statutory auditing. It is known and informed that Tally ERP 9 comes up with inbuilt capabilities for audit and compliance facilities, specifically focused and tailored for Indian chartered accountants and tailor-made to the needs and requirements of the statutes and recommendations of Indian regulatory bodies. The CAT2, Computer-Assisted Audit Tools, in Tally software is reported as very helpful to us to validate the audit data maintained in Tally by business owners, identify risks, errors, omissions, confirm the business compliance accuracies, and also maintain audit working papers within Tally. Audit tools and features in Tally software help in retrieving the relevant information and present them in the required form to help us as auditors to formality. Similarly, Excel has many useful features for auditors. The ability to put data into a spreadsheet and perform different tests and analysis makes Excel a powerful audit tool. It's very simple to use and readily available to most of us. Unfortunately, most of us as professionals are not using or fully utilizing these tools, maybe due to lack of adequate knowledge and awareness about them. Today, we have with us a very learned resource person, an expert in this field, CA Narasimhan Elangovan from Bangalore to talk to us, guide us, and update us on these audit tools. We are fortunate to have him here today and believe that the interaction with him will be very useful to all of us as professionals and update our knowledge. On behalf of Ernakulam branch of ICAI, I extend a hearty welcome to CA Elangovan Narasimhan, the resource person today to this webinar. Welcome, sir. Let me also welcome all the colleagues and seniors and friends in profession and the MC members present here today. Vice Chairman Ranjit, Secretary Joss, Sikasa Chairman and Alan, all to this webinar. Wish you all have a wonderful learning time today. Before passing on the proceedings, as usual, let me brief you a few points. Kindly remain muted your audio and video till the end of this session. If you want to raise a question, you can raise it in the chat box. If you wish to raise a question directly to the resource person, please express it in the chat box and you will be called to raise the question in person at the appropriate time. As usual, with regard to structured CPE credit and registration, mandatory attendance is a must. Again, I'm telling you, it's a mandatory requirement by CPE Directorate. So you have to attend the session rather than simply registering it. Simply registering alone will not entitle you to CPA credits. We have to submit the attendance proof to the CPA Directorate also. Please ensure that you attend the session full. Again, always see that register in advance. Do not wait for the last moment or the last day. We are trying to make the registrations and attendance simple for IRS members. There are some features and we are clearing it. Soon we will be coming with a more IRS member friendly registration and attendance. So kindly cooperate with us till it is finally cleared. And once again, I wish you have a wonderful learning time here today. More details about the forthcoming programs and the GST refresher course will be given by Secretary Joss later on. So over to Joss for further proceedings.
Thank you, Chairman CA Roy Varghese. Now I may request our Vice Chairman CA Ranjit Warrior to introduce our speaker for the day.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Happy and proud to introduce before you CA Narasimhan Elangovan. CA Narasimhan Elangovan, BCom, FCA, CS, Visa, CISA, Diploma in IFRS from UK, CDPSC USA. Is a futuristic GRC professional, keynote speaker and a partner of Ken and Company Bangalore. He is an international speaker on IS assurance, data analytics, cyber security, forensic audit, data privacy laws, and emerging technologies. He specializes in data analytics, risk-based audit, privacy impact assessment, internal audits, information technology consulting, information systems assurance, data analytics, implementation and testing of internal financial controls, SOX, SOX, and SOC. Also artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, cyber security, data analytics, and big data. So really, as it shows, big data. He has recently authored a book titled Digitizing CA Practice and co-authored of the implementation guide on DCMM version 2.0. He has spoken at international conferences at Dubai, Malaysia, Bangkok, Saudi Arabia, Geneva, Doha, Nairobi, and Bahrain. With these few very little words, let me once again introduce before you CA Narasimhan Elangovan.
Thank you so much. Let me quickly get started. Just give me a couple of minutes. I'll just set the screen right so that it's visible.
Yes.
Hope I am visible, my voice is clear, and the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Everything is.
So, just yesterday I got a nice WhatsApp forward. Gandhiji at, a few years back made 3 monkeys, and one monkey was for, you should not see bad. One more monkey was you should not hear bad, and one more monkey was you should not speak bad. Now the same thing in Zoom is changed. The 3 monkeys over here is, the first monkey is, are you audible enough? The second monkey is the screen visible? And the third monkey is whether the speaker is visible. Okay, not that I'm giving that context, but yeah, some nice forward just on a jovial note to get started. So thank you so much, Roy Varghese sir and the entire team of Ernakulam branch for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. So since my screen and other basic information is clear, I will go ahead and get started. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm also minimizing my screen because otherwise my own photo will be visible and it may sort of contradict. So today we have understood that Excel and Tally are something which is very, very important and fundamental for us. And it is quite hard or quite difficult for us to digest the fact that, we cannot live with these tools. Well, there may be automation, there may be technology which is coming in, there may be robotics, there may be AI, but underlying these two are a fundamental tools which a CA has exposure. So I said, why not we spend some time to go deeper into how can I explore this Tally as an audit tool and how can I explore Excel as an audit tool. So this is a brief about me. I'm a practicing chartered accountant, partner Ken & Company. Details were already informed, so I'm not going too much into that. This is the book which I authored for Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association, Digitizing CA Practice. Probably very soon I'm finalizing this book on digitizing professional practice. That is something which I'm coming up very soon. So hopefully that will be an updated version of this, adding remote working, work from home, etc., etc. So let me quickly go ahead to this disclaimer, of course, a general disclaimer there. But let me quickly go to this context, what I intend to cover in today's session or my agenda. I want to keep it very simple, not heavily loaded with too much of content. And I firmly believe that I have to show things practically. So that is the reason, my dear friends, I would be taking you through some bit of a practical approach on how you can go ahead with this, using these tools as an automation suite. So the first thing I'm going to spend some time is how do I use Tally as a audit module and for documentation, and second is how do I use Excel for audit. Okay, so I have about a couple of hours. Let me try how best I can take you through each of them, and also depending on time I'll also show you some tidbits, some useful information, how you can use Excel for better. Okay, so first is Tally. We all use it as an accounting software, but little do we know that Tally has an inbuilt audit module, and that is something which I thought I should definitely take you through. Okay, so let's take you through the first thing, which is the audit module, and therefore I'm quickly jumping on to Tally. I hope my Tally screen is visible, sir.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So the first and foremost thing, my dear friends, okay, by the way, I'll also make sure that I also talk to you about how we can do remote audit without Tally, but using Tally. Okay, make sure that I explain that in case I miss it. That's a very interesting tip. Okay, so this is Tally file for you. We have just opened it. You will find, if I just zoom the screen a little, you will find an option called as audit and compliance. This is the audit module of Tally. Now, one must be wondering, why should I go into the audit module of Tally? It has some inherent advantages. And I'm sure many of them, you may be having your Tally file already open with you. It is okay. You can probably want to, should you wish to, you can do it parallelly with me as well. But I would suggest stick on to it, look into the movie, you will get some interesting ideas and then start implementing it. So the first thing which you will have to do is, if you want to get started, your Tally file should have a username and password. And how do I do it? Alt F3, which is company info, correct? I click on company info. I have to go click on Alter, and I choose the name of the company. This one XYZ company. And please ensure the security control option over here is yes. Name of administrator and password is being defined. You can choose what you want to, but I've just defined a field over here. So that is the step number one. Step number 2 is that once you have enabled, you'll have to reload Tally. It'll ask you for entering username password. Please do not forget the password. It is difficult to retrieve it. And please note, it was not Tally Vault password. It is the password for opening Tally. Once that is done, you get this particular screen. The moment you get this screen, my dear friends, quickly go to Audit and Compliance. You find about 4 options over here under the category called as Statutory Audit. Perhaps in the next version or so, maybe Tally may want to improvise it. We do not know about it. For the time being, let us stick on to this particular option. Now, under that, this documentation is a very simple yet powerful feature which Tally offers. So let's quickly go into Audit Documentation, and you will find over here the audit program, auditor's report, annexure to auditor's report, accounting standard, and you find a whole lot of these options. My dear friends, these can be configured. For instance, you want to define an audit program, and it's highly recommended that you start doing it. And today it's not very complicated to define an audit program. You can just do a Control-C and Control-V, correct? Just go into Google, sort of do a simple search. Give me a tax audit program, and you get a simple tax audit program, correct? Whatever is the link, you have BCA's checklist, you have Tax Guru, some website. In fact, if I go to BCA's website, I get some checklist, immediately. Let's see what that tax audit program is. Correct? And let's see how well we can sort of, adapt that. It's as simple as that. Of course, this the font may be a little different. So they speak about, do you have appointment letter? Do you have relevant resolutions? Do you have this entire list? All that you have to do is pick up this information and start mentioning over here as an audit program. The first step, you click over here and you say, do you want to set the alter client details? You can say as yes, I want to alter it. I can mention our firm's name, Ken & Co, Bangalore, some basic address, and who is my audit team. These are simply, you just click a button and you can configure it. Okay, so assuming I want to call ABC, I have XYZ, just a click of a button. Just configure this. Okay, and you can mention all the basic information should you wish to enter, and you have the master set rate. Once you have done it, you have this checklist which you can configure. Of course, focus your tax audit program or your statutory audit program where you can configure this, and I'll tell you the advantage. See, today all of us are working on remote, and we are expecting to work in this fashion at least for a few more days. In fact, we have to see how best we are able to use technology for that. Now, if you give your Tally file to your article staff and ask article staff to work, it's going to be a little difficult thing. And how are you going to monitor their work? You have to keep on calling, video calling, screen sharing, any desk, this, that. So many options are there. But the real catch or the real question is, can I make my work as a chartered accountant, as a partner, as a manager easier? So define a simple chart of accounts here. So, or as a rather, beg your pardon, define a simple audit program here. So what do? Just go click on new. Mention to the article staff whatever you want to do. Verify all the purchases made. Simple. Or just verify all the debits in fixed asset register. And you can probably assign 1 day for it, or it is a very small activity. Just spend about 4 hours for this. Actual how much he spent, you can probably update it. Let's say he spent about 2.5 hours. Extent of verification, do you want 100%? Some cases you want 100%, or just mention, above 10K, 100%. Whom do you want to give it to? I want to give it to Akbar. Correct. Verification remarks, this you will have to enter it. Reviewed by the partner's name in case mine, and submit to the senior partner, etc. So look at this. I'm able to sit and do this entire documentation. And the beauty about this, my dear friend, is once I've done with this entire thing, okay, once I've done with this entire thing, I have an option to export this. And once you export it, don't you think your documentation is taken care of? The answer is yes. See, today the regulators are enforcing more and more on the CA. And that is creating a burden on us. Why can't we use technology to work more smarter? And next time you just have to copy, paste, and configure just for other clients. It's just a question of minutes. Of course, each client may have some unique items. You can just mention it over here, and this becomes a sort of a roll forward program for you. Correct? So that's a fantastic option which is available, and that's audit program for you. Next is audit report. Should you wish to, you can also define your audit report over here. That's also a possible option. When you export it to Excel, some bit of formatting is necessary, but otherwise there's also a good option. Next is Caro. I think this was the old Caro. I'm not too sure whether this can be amended, but it definitely gives you one very interesting thing. It can give you a checklist for each of those sections. So if you thought that you want to standardize your office in terms of processes, I think this is the best thing for you to do. Pick up things from here. Say, for example, public deposit. Just look into it. Of course, this comes under the old Companies Act. Okay, because this is the old Caro. You can always see what best you can adopt from this and prepare your own checklist. Maybe this module alone you ignore, rest all you can still use it. You can to some extent go and make some edits as well. These are all possible. Next is your accounting standard compliance checklist. Should you wish to, you can just make a mention that valuation of inventory is applicable for my industry. I have complied it. Cash flow statement is not applicable. Obviously, the answer is no. Why? It is a small company under the Companies Act 2013. So I think small companies are given the exemption. So make a list like this and export it. Imagine the beauty of your work papers once you have done this. And tomorrow, if you are subject to a peer review, you have everything ready. Likewise, you can also update standard on auditing. Only challenge in standard of auditing is it still uses the old standards. Your SA 200, it still talks about basic principles governing an audit, which is the old version, not the SA 200 revised. Maybe to that extent, you can probably exclude this. And then you can also maintain your work papers, vouchers. What all vouchers have you verified? Have you done this, not verified this? What is the concept? All of this is available. Masters, and masters are all the ledger accounts which is maintained. Your vouchers, all the type of voucher, configuration, etc. can be looked into it. And you also have other interesting reports. MSME, we need to make a disclosure under the MSME law. So please check whether you have configured. Periodical payments and receipts. So who's verified this? Related party is somebody verified. Sampling methods, a whole lot of these options are available. I would sincerely suggest, please give it a try to explore a few of them. Okay, assuming you say, no, sir, I have my own set of documentation. I have my own set of format. No problem. This is a very, very powerful feature of Tally, and that's called as audit and analysis. What happens in audit and analysis, my dear friends, is that there are a host of options which are available, which analyzes your Tally data within Tally application itself. You need not bring into the Excel and do some VLOOKUP, this, that comparison. Forget it. From here itself, you can do a whole lot of comparison analysis. Under the first option is called verification of chart of accounts, a must-use option for all of us. Why? See, many times when we start our audit, suddenly we get the file from the client, and it says that the previous period balance sheet or the opening balance, and this is not matching. There is some sort of an alteration. Sometimes the ledger accounts grouping has changed. A whole lot of these things. And the other thing which we always want to see in Tally is we want to check whether have I reviewed all the accounts at a holistic level. And this is one option which will help you out. Click on verification of chart of accounts. You get 5 types. The first type is called accounts squared off during the year. Those ledgers where the debit and the credit are equal. I repeat, debit and the credit are equal. So if I just go click over here, I get the list of all ledgers debit and credit are equal. Now comes a very, very interesting question. Now, if the debit and credit is equal, why should I verify? I'll put it all the way around. If the debit and credit are equal, first of all, are we verifying it somewhere? No, because we go from the balance sheet approach or we go from the P&L approach. Balance sheet or P&L, only if the year-end balance is there, it will reflect. If the debit and credit is equal, where do we verify it? The answer is no. So why can't we do this extra step? And all that you will have to do, my dear friends, is scan through this. Who knows? We might have a pass-through account in this particular. What is a pass-through account? I had to make a payment to somebody else. I passed the entry to Mrs. XYZ. because from the bank account, entry to Mrs. XYZ looks reasonable for you. Then from Mrs. XYZ, you pass a journal voucher to the related party who is the director of the company. And why did you do that? Because you did that because you did not want any person to identify what exactly is going on. Correct? So that is where the catch, my dear friends. That is where the catch is. This is where you realize that this is a very powerful step for you to identify pass-through cases. Wherever you had cases of fraud, wherever you have cases of suspicious transactions, this is a very handy option for you to verify. Not just that, you can also look into this. For example, VAT ledger. We know that the input VAT ledger invariably either gets set off during the year or is being obtained as a refund. Of course, here VAT you have to interpret as GST, correct? So you can have a whole lot of these fellows over here. The second, ledgers which are not used at all. Do you know which is the one of the ledger which is not used at all during the entire year until the auditor touches it? Can you guess that? You can probably, can you drop a message in the audit? You can drop a message in the chat window. Which is that ledger which only the auditor touches, which the client never touches it?
Provision for tax?
No. This is just a jovial thing. Do not take it too seriously. I'm sure one of the participants, yeah, you got it right, Mr. Paulos and Josie. It's audit fee. Audit fee ledger is never touched by a client until it comes to us and where we force the client to make an audit fee provision. Anyway, jokes apart, but let's quickly get to the context. I'm talking about those ledgers which are not used during the year. One would, if you just go through this, you get to know if there are any critical ledgers. You get to know if there are any critical ledgers where the accounting entry is not passed. Okay. So for instance, you know that, GST input tax credit, one of those section or one of those numbers, nobody has passed the entry. So it would simply mean that there is a possibility for you, there is a possibility for you to figure out that somebody has missed an entry over here. And in a click of a button, you can actually identify this. See, the focus for us as partners or as proprietors is that we should focus more on qualitative work, and quantitative work we need to give it to our interns or our subordinates. Why? So the time is very, very, very limited. We are literally starving for time because the work is so much. The deadlines are ever increasing. Of course, now during COVID time, there has been some relaxation, but it will ultimately mount up after a point in time, correct? So how can I be more efficient? And that is possible only if I use technology. And all these features, my dear friends, are already inbuilt into Tally. It just makes a lot of sense for us to go and start using that. Okay, quickly taking this further. This is another interesting thing. Only balances are there. There are no transactions. Classical example is opening balances are being carried forward. Now, you could consider some fixed assets over here. It makes sense. If you find accumulated depreciation over here, that means that the depreciation entry is not passed. Simple. If you find that, a debtor appearing over here, this would mean that the debtor or the respective amount is still not realized. You may want to write them off. Correct? So that is the way you can make use of this entire thing. And you can do a whole lot of, spending just 1 hour to 2 hours, go through this entire thing and ask your article staff to, sort of get started with the work, how much time you're saving. Correct? This is a very interesting case. Revenue ledger having opening balance. A revenue ledger having opening balance is a typical case where somebody has gone and tweaked either the opening balance or perhaps he's done some mischief with the entire ledger balance itself or the ledger nomenclature. Say, for example, here you're finding prepaid insurance. It has an opening balance and it is a revenue ledger. Somebody, if they wanted to write off this 9,000 rupees, instead of, passing a journal entry to write off, they went to the masters and they modified it. And I'm sure most of us encountered these sort of errors. And the last one are those ledgers used in the current years. These are all ledgers which have been used for this year's journal entry. And this is something which you have to go through so that you can make a verification. Or this is something which you can double check, have I verified it or not. Correct? So that's how simple this particular report is for you. Let's quickly move further. You have the same report for stock items. In my case, I don't want to take you through this, but this is definitely again a good case. You have additional information, negative stock, you have information, not used stock, which is not used. Say, for example, these could be obsolete stock used only in the current year, the various information with respect to this. Then you may have verification of balances. The whole list of balances, this is nothing but your trial balance at one shot. But what you can do is you can click each of them and you can say, have you verified it or not? For instance, you are doing an audit of the income and expenditure. So you quickly scroll down, you look into the sales, you look into the local sales, go to these items, find out percent. Okay, I go ahead and I say this is audited. Correct? I can keep on updating each of them. It's just like an audit tick mark, just an extra procedure you might have to follow, but you can, sort of quickly help in doing all of this at one shot. Of course, you hit a control enter, you can view these journal entries. So you are able to, my dear friends, at a click of a button, you are able to do this. And should you want to do multi-voucher audit, you can go ahead and do that as well. So all these are powerful features where you can just say, I've audited all of them, all looks okay. And look at this, all the options at one shot, I've updated my notes. So these are few powerful features which is available. Let's quickly move to the next option, analytical procedures. Now, analytical procedures, my dear friends, are ratios, are comparisons, what you intend to compare with what. For instance, you would want to compare a group with a group. You would want to compare a ledger with ledger, cost center with cost center. Host of these options are available. Let's quickly click on ledger is to group. Let's say the ledger is interest rate or OD interest, whatever you can call it. I'm not sure what is that. Okay, there is something called interest on OD account, and or rather, I'll just do a ledger to ledger. Ledger to ledger, interest on OD, and let's say I type the OD account, HDFC OD account, and I do this comparison, I am able to get some sort of a percentage. Of course, this is calculated on the closing balance, whereas the interest amount is for the full year. I can tweak this to that so that I get average amount, and I can do a whole lot of these additions. Next comes pending documentation. Should you have any documents which you are yet to receive from clients, you can make a track of them. Okay. Then comes your statutory payments. This is applicable only if you have configured that. In my case, my Tally, I have not configured it. If you have configured the statutory master, you can make use of this. Periodical payments and repeated transactions. These are very interesting functions. Periodical payments refers to those payments whose amount is the same and repeated multiple times. For example, if you see here, the office rent, normally throughout the year, it remains the same. Or assuming even between the year there's an escalation, 6 months increase, 6 months lower, 5 months increase, 7 months lower. All those possibilities are there. So it will appear here as two items you can quickly get to know. And assuming director's commission or something else comes up over here, it's an area which you want to verify. Look into this here. I have all the amounts. It is exactly the same. Okay, when I use the word exactly the same, I'm referring to the per party, whatever is the value. Correct? So 75,000 over here. I may have 2 entries being passed. Certain things like this would be appearing over here. So these are all the sort of, my periodical payments and receipts. And when I have repeated transactions, these are transactions where you'll find the same amount appearing multiple times. Can you find here 17,400 appear multiple times? Classical example is EMI. Go down rent, again, it is appearing multiple times, same amount. So I think I let me clarify this. I think just to reiterate, repeated transactions amount would be same, whereas periodical payments and receipts amount would be different, but the same party could be used. Okay. Then comes a very, very powerful feature in Tally. In the whole of Tally, this is a one wonderful, powerful feature, and that's called relative size factor. Let's take a simple example to explain this concept, and I'll probably quickly go to the drawing board or my Excel spreadsheet because we are best in that. Correct? So let's take a simple example. Invoice number 1 was, let us presume, 50,000. Invoice number 2 was, let us say, 55,000. However, when the data entry was made, the clerk entered this as 5,500. Now, is there any way for you to identify or possibly tell, hey, this is a mistake which has happened? Because we all know in our manual exam approach, my balance sheet or P&L used to never tally. Therefore, I used to know some mistake was there. When it comes to computerized system, I would have entered debit 5,500 and tally by default will take credit also equal. Correct? So even if I have made a mistake, it becomes difficult for me to identify. And this is one of the cases where the function called as relative size factor comes into picture. Now, what relative size factor does is, first and foremost, it calculates the difference between this. Okay, so the difference between this is 44,500 and divides it by the lower amount and you get 8 times. That means what? The gap between the first highest and the second highest entry is 8 times. That's exactly what the meaning is. The higher the RSF, the greater is the possibility of anomaly. What is an anomaly? A deviation. Perhaps, maybe actually I purchased 5,500 and 50,000 rupees only. So what? You at least were able to do an audit procedure. And this is a very important data analytics function. Okay, so that's called as a relative size factor. Let's see how that has been tuned into this particular client. So I quickly go hit on relative size factor and I can see some relative size factor as 45,000. That's massive. Correct. So let's quickly see here. You find that, one entry was 1 rupee and other is 45,000. Okay, maybe that 1 rupee is, let's just not bother about it. And you can see the relative size factor calculation. 45,000 divided by 1 is equal to 45,000, and the maximum value. We can also look into, let us say, electricity office charges. Correct. You can look into these factors. What RSF, you can also use RSF instead of using all these things. You can simply say, I will not bother about this. I will simply take the ratio of this. So that's another factor which you can do. I only subtracted the one element out of it. You can either take the division of C was 50,000 divided by 5,500, or you can choose to take the difference between these both and take the number out of it. Both give you different perspective, but of course the difference is just going to be 1 because you have ignored one factor, which is the invoice number 2. Coming back, so here I see that my relative size factor is 75,000 divided by 5,600, which is the first highest number divided by second highest number. And if I closely look into it, most of the electricity bill comes 4,000, 5,000 range only. But then there is 1 month electricity bill has come to the range of 75,000. Now, what do you think this could possibly be? Can you please drop a message in the chat window? Why do you think the 75,000 could have posed a problem? What according to you is the 75,000? You can probably drop a message in the chat window. Deposit, okay, quite possible. Arrears, very good. So let's see what happens. I go click on the 75,000 entry, couple of other responses I'm getting: arrears, deposit. Somebody says write-off, arrears, asset charged off, omission of previous year. Very good cases, very good cases. So let's quickly see. The entry is passed on February 2013, and so if it is an omission of last year, normally it should have been in April or May, but nevertheless, let me go here and click on this entry and let's see what the narration says. Being the purchase of generator. The entry is also wrong, the spelling is also wrong. Correct. So we got to know that capex versus opex. That's the simple answer in this particular case. And how much time did we take to identify this? If we had to go line by line, ledger by ledger, it takes a whole lot of time. So why don't we apply techniques like this so that everything else at one shot, we can have a look into it. And we have one interesting audit observation by one of the participants, Apurva Agarwal. There is an issue if this expense is charged from Canara Bank, the rest is from HDFC. Quite possible there could be some trouble as well. You do not know. Each bank could be for a particular purpose. We do not know what it is. But these are anomalies which you can easily identify it. Correct? Let's quickly look into one other case. Maybe audit fee payable is 10. Look at this. You know, the audit fee for the first year was, the last year perhaps was 30,000, or, okay, let's ignore the date. The difference between the audit fee is more than 10 times, and it looks slightly, worrisome, at least not for us, for the client. Jokes apart, but yes, there is a sort of a gap. So that's a relative size factor for you. Now you must be thinking, sir, when you have the difference between the first highest and the second highest, can I not take the difference between the highest and the lowest, what we popularly call as range? That function is available under other analysis. And if you click other analysis, you have interesting options. The first being interbank transactions. See, many times these contra vouchers, interbank vouchers, we tend to miss out verifying. And trust me, my dear friends, frauds have been committed using these ledger accounts. Because we know that the item would appear in the ledger account, but in reality, it will not appear in the bank statement. And immediately that entry would have been passed and the entry would have been reversed. I came across recently a few cases, when we were doing an investigation where somebody has used interbank as a pass-through for us to play around and do some mischief. Okay, so interbank you can identify quickly at one shot, ensure these are the only interbank and no more transactions, correct? So it gives us a quick view for you to identify what it is. Then you have cash withdrawals and deposits to bank. This is also very important because a fraud may be committed in the name of cash withdrawal or cash deposit. For all you know, the actual cash is not being deposited. Okay, and next is, okay, just a tip for you, my dear friends, please ensure your client's bank statement is obtained in Excel sheet. You can always use these the SAP or Tally, whatever software your client is using, put them into Excel and use a match or a VLOOKUP or a comparison and try to iron out the differences. And if you find that none of these methods work, you can use a sort and filter also, which let me take you through today, depending on time. Okay, transactions on holiday, this is possible if the holiday module is being configured into the system. Okay, highest and lowest value transaction, this is what I told you is the range. You get the highest and lowest, and the beauty is you can press F12 and you can sort of mention what is the ledger with the range. Okay, you can mention a range, or you can mention the sole ledger between any of these amounts, show the type of balance, credit balance or debit balance, show the name of the group, primary group. You can define at various levels. And the beauty is you can also have sorting of this. So let's say I choose sorting method as decreasing the range amount. See what happens over here. I get to know it is based upon this column difference. Range is equal to C minus A. The highest difference which I see is 40 lakh, if I understood right, between this particular company, and the highest entry is for 40 lakh and the lowest entry is for 500. Perhaps you should understand what this is. Maybe it could be an exception, maybe it could be an observation. So this way you can do a whole lot of these analysis which is possible. My suggestion is rather consider difference range, but you can always consider difference percentage. Percentage gives you obviously the absolute reference point. So therefore that's a better yardstick for you to compare. For example, cash, you can see 20 lakh and 1 rupee. So obviously 19 lakh, 19,000 is the percentage. HDFC OD, maybe bank charges could be 10 rupees. So therefore we have to ignore these. These could be anomalies or exceptions. Rest you can definitely focus on. Okay. Next is your pending advances, your stale check instruments, external party confirmation. This is also possible, and account reconciliation. These are also possible. So that's basically at a high level, my dear friends, what is possible. And again, you have various other further information. What is the percentage of vouchers you want to verify? You can sort of mention it, or you can see how much you have verified. Because you have mentioned manually sampled, because you have chosen them. Correct. And you can choose related party transactions. This is again subject to the fact that related party has been defined. forex transactions in case you have your foreign exchange transactions. But for this to be enforced, you need to enable the field called as forex amount, or you need to enter the forex amount. If not enter that, this would obviously not appear. Okay, and then you have the MSME transactions, salary wage payments, repeated transactions. So these are all options for you, my dear friends, for you to get some analysis. And then penultimate comes your audit journals. Many a times client gives us the data, we pass some rectification entries, and once we have passed these rectification entries, we send them back to the client. But what would have happened is the client would have missed passing these rectification entries in the opening balance or incorporating them in the opening balance. As a result, there is a huge carryover, or there is a huge problem. So what is it that you do? Instead of you passing the journal entries in the normal mode, please pass the journal entries over here, through which you can track what are the entries or the rectifications which you're making. And this becomes a quick way for you to grasp or understand or identify what these are. Okay. And last is your financial statements, which is your basically balance sheet, profit and loss, and basic additional details, your whatever disclosures, which is the same thing which you'll find it even in your schedule 3 or other reports. So that's the powerful audit module feature, my dear friends. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to address. I see a couple of them. Okay, these are all generalist questions, so I'll ignore that. So that's basically audit module for you. I thought it is worthwhile to mention certain tips and tidbits of Tally, because many of us use Tally, but we do not know there are so many interesting features. Okay, so we all know that Tally has a calculator, correct? And where is the calculator? The calculator is right over here. So if you press Control N, the calculator menu gets activated. And the moment I click on the calculator menu, you can find something like this, which is actually appearing. Now, did you know that I can use a script, or I can write something over here, such as formulas or something beyond that in this particular option? The answer is yes. Can we give it a try? So let's click on this particular option called calculator, and let's tell Tally, we tell to our smartphone, hey Siri, tell me the time. Okay Google, send me an email. Can I do okay Tally, tell me cash? Okay, so since Tally is not so intelligent to understand voice commands, by the way, that can be also be configured, but assuming I'm just using the word cash, can Tally tell me the word cash? So let's hit enter, see what Tally tells me. Tally tells me, hey, your cash balance is so much. Okay, can you please tell me the bank balance? Okay, the bank balance is so much. Can you please tell me what is the balance of my current liabilities? Here is your current liabilities. Okay, Tally, can you please tell me what is the current ratio? All right, let's see. My goodness, it's also able to tell me some ratio analysis. Can it tell me what is the profit for the year? Hey, you know what? This is your profit for the year. And can it tell me what is my balance sheet total? Here is the balance sheet total. Look at that powerful function. And my dear friends, this is beyond a calculator. This is beyond a calculator. Correct? So that's basically how Tally can be used for bringing in some amount of automation. Now let's take this to the next level. When I take it to the next level, can I do some sort of a basic analysis, or can I do some some basic checks in terms of what is possible, or can I do some basic checks in terms of can I again, these are all possible depending upon the basic configuration of Tally. So depending on configuration of Tally, depending on what the reports are, you can perhaps execute them, you will get this. So I would leave that to your option to go and explore this. But let me go to the next level. Can I get the trial balance over here? Yes, but it is not as simple. You need to write a step-by-step approach. So select from, or rather I'll say select dollar ledger, or rather dollar name from ledger. And there you go. This is the list of all ledgers which is there in Tally. And what did I do? I just typed this formula over here, select dollar name from ledger. I'll take this to the next level. I not only require the name, I also require closing balance. So what can I do about this? So let's try to play around. So select $name, comma, dollar closing balance from ledger. Hopefully it opens. Let's see what happens. Oh my goodness. It is giving me the entire balance. But this is not sufficient for me. I obviously want to know which head of account or which parent it is. So let's do something different now. Select $name, dollar closing balance, comma, dollar underscore parent from ledger. Okay, got dollar underscore parent. Let's try dollar parent. I'm not sure whether that is the rightful description. Oh my goodness, what a beauty. I got the report which I wanted in a click of a button. Now the beauty is I can obviously export this into Excel and do whatever analysis I want. But then comes a very, very interesting question or an interesting challenge. Many times we want to import, can I build this logic into what I call it as Excel, such that my Excel based analytics or Excel based financial statements can be done? Well, why not? Let's give it a try. Let's see how that Excel based financial statements can be prepared in a click of a button from Tally. Are we ready? So let's quickly jump into an Excel spreadsheet. Let me share my Excel spreadsheet, and I've just come into Excel spreadsheet. I go to this option called as data. Under this option, I have an option called get data, and under get data, you have an option called other sources. From other sources, we go click on Microsoft query. Okay, I'm using Microsoft 365, Excel 365, Office 365, Microsoft 365, however you want to call it. So my options may be slightly different, but nevertheless, go to get data, go to other sources, please click on Microsoft query. A small table like this would open. And when you've opened up a table like this, you will find an option called tally ODBC underscore 9000. Assuming you're not able to find it, what you'll have to do is ensure you right click the tally icon, go to properties. You have this open file location. Click on open file location. It will take you where your tally is installed. Under that, you will have this option called REG ODBC 32, registry ODBC 32 edit. Right click, run as administrator. It will take 1 or 2 seconds, and after that it will come back to the same screen. Then close tally, close Excel, once again open it, it will work. Okay, so coming back, so I click on tally ODBC 9000, and the moment I've clicked on tally ODBC 9000, I say okay. And now here I have so many tables which you can see over here. Can you find it? My dear friends, these are all the tables or the list of tables available in Tally. You would be surprised the amount of data Tally can capture beyond just a journal entry. Correct? Anyways, let's quickly stick on to what I wanted to show you through. I click on ledger. I click on the plus icon. You will find all these options over here. I click on $name. I click on $parent. I click on $parent. Oh yeah, there I have $parent, and then $_ closing balance. And let's see if I have opening balance as well. I'm not sure if I have opening balance. Let me see that. So $opening balance. Okay, I think it is with some other description. We'll probably pick it up a little later. So once I've chosen these 3 fields, I just click on next. I can choose filter. I can choose whatever I want to. For the timing, I'm avoiding that. I can click on next. I can simply say, hey, sorted by the name. And then I can say sorted by the parent. And then I can say sorted by the closing balance. Again, it's my choice. You can choose whatever you want to, or you can simply ignore. Then click on next. And there's a beautiful option called save query. So when you click on save query, you can save this query within Tally, rather within the query sheet. So next time you need not do the circus automatically, you can just press refresh. So I do not choose it. Should you want to, you can go ahead. So I say return data to Microsoft query. I click finish. It says, do you want a table? Do you want a pivot table report, or do you want a chart? So I tell the system, hey, you know what, just give me a table for the time being, and I just say okay. Look at this. Click of a button. I've got the entire data from Tally to Excel. That is not about it. There is still much more. And what is that much more? Every time I pass an entry in Tally, I repeat, every time I pass an entry in Tally, for instance, I pass an entry, let us presume, let's say, Amar account debit 1 lakh to cash. I know this may be a violation of tax audit requirement, but just for the sake of understanding, let's say test or cash paid. It's writing a simple entry. Now, what are the two ledgers which was affected? The two ledgers which was affected was Amar and of course cash. Okay, so just for your reference, I'm writing down the value over here in the right hand side so that you don't have it becomes an easy way for you to compare. And what do I do here? Right click. All that I do is refresh. Let's see the magic. The amounts are updated automatically. And the beauty of this is, if you have linked this into a pivot table, okay, how to prepare a pivot table a little later, I'll show it to you. But let's presume you have linked it to a pivot table. Okay, you can just mention the parent name. You can just mention the name of the ledger. You can mention the closing balance. And my dear friends, this you can link it with your your financials, or you can link it with your notes to accounts. All that you have to do is, hey, reserves and surplus is equal to, come to this sheet and just link it to your reserves and surplus. So you know where your reserves and surplus is. You may have to do some bit of search, but you will get it and just link it over there. There you go. So reserves and surplus total is this. So what is the advantage of this? Every time, next time you have to prepare the financial statements, don't bother about anything. Just come, right click this, refresh, come here, right click, refresh, and you're done. That's how simple it can get. The only limitation under this approach, my dear friends, is that this accounting data, whatever you're pulling through or whatever you're trying to gather from here, the only limitation under this method is that if any of the parent or the ledger name is altered, the entire linkage may go for a toss. You will take some time to reconcile, but otherwise this is a terrific method for you to bring in the data from Tally into Excel. Okay, so that's something which I wanted to cover on Tally. Should there be something more or questions, I'll be happy to take it during our Q&A because we have almost completed about an hour's discussion, and I think we will move into the second agenda, which is using Excel as an audit tool. Or if you have any questions, I'll probably give a couple of minutes for the participants to ask me. I will probably stop sharing the screen. Should you have any questions, please ask me. I hope you're finding the session interesting and useful. You can drop a message in the chat window, or you can inform the organizers. We can unmute you as well.
These two questions, I think you might have answered it, no? Can we get some exposure on linking Tally reports with Excel? Is it?
Yes, that's exactly what we did.
And also, is it age analysis possible? That's also
aging analysis. I think Ms. Beena is asking this question. Aging to some extent is not possible. There is already a default report of aging available in Tally. You can make use of that. Linking process, you want me to repeat? I'll surely quickly show it to you because I know it went a little fast because we just have about an hour and I have lots to cover. But yeah, so I go click on data. Under data, I have get data. And from get data, you have an option called other sources. And in other sources, it's called Microsoft query. So what I've done, my dear friends, is that, I've put this into a PPT so that, it becomes easier for you. So I've put the screenshot by screenshot so that you can choose it. So I hope this will become handy for you when you're referring. And this is typically how you get the output, and this is how you prepare the pivot, and then you link it to the financials. Okay, so that's one of the question. I'm sorry, I forgot to share my screen. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is what I was trying to tell you. You go to Excel spreadsheet, go to get data from other sources, Microsoft query. Under that, you have this option called tally ODBC, and under that you click on ledger and you can choose this. Okay, so then you get this output in the form of this Excel spreadsheet, and from there you go down further, you can prepare a pivot. And once a pivot, of course, you have to choose this option called classical pivot so that you get the view better. And you can go click on link pivot. How do you link the nodes? Just like a formula is equal to. Okay, so I hope that did help you. Let me quickly come back to the other Q&A. Cash flow statements. Unfortunately, cash flow statements is just not available. How I wish it could be there. But let me tell you a hard truth, my dear friends. Even the biggest of the ERPs do not have a dynamic cash flow. Okay, because cash flow, I mean, it is easy for you to put which account where it comes. There are a lot of underlying adjustments which has to go through, especially the non-cash elements. And that is difficult for any system to, sort of bring in that amount of intelligence. So it is a little challenging thing when it comes to cash flow. Sudhakaran sir is giving me a compliment. Thank you so much. Yeah, I missed sharing the screen. Sorry, I think I did that. How do I organize clean data with narrations? Exported to Tally. Correction to previous chat from. Okay. Mr. Sabu, can you just hold on for some time? I'll quickly show that in one of these options. Okay, so that's basically the chat questions which has come. In case if I missed it anything, feel free to drop me a message once again. Let's quickly move on to the next thing which I wanted to show you. Let's look into how you can use a spreadsheet. Okay, before I forget. Now, one of the questions which most of the participants ask me after I've done this demo is, sir, these are okay. Every time I have to run the SQL, it's all too complicated. Can you give me a simple approach of doing it? So if you want simple approach, yes, this is a software called as TallyCat. Okay, it's an add-on. It's of course a paid version developed by a company by name Windsor Infotech. What this does is this one simple tool. It has some powerful features. What it does is I click on TCAT. The moment I click on TCAT, I have a whole lot of these options over here. Ignore the first set, whatever is there. I have the profile option, accounting option, inventory, and I have some basic GST reports, analysis, etc. Sorry, again, I forgot to share my screen. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope now the screen is visible. Great. Can you see this option called as TCAT? And this option called TCAT is an add-on which I have in Tally. It's developed by a company by name Windsor Infotech. So they have developed this particular solution, and this is something which I would probably recommend you to go and explore. And what is it that you get out of this? Let's say I want to create, of course, it is basically a tool. Let me put it in a nutshell. It is a tool for you to pull the data from from Tally into Excel. I repeat, a tool for you to pull the data from Tally to Excel. So what do? You click on Daybook. You go click on Transactions. Let's say you want the daybook of all the transactions on a particular day. By default, it chooses the entire accounting period. Let's say I choose it only for 1st April to 5th April because I don't want it to take so much time for it to run it. So let's say I just say 1st April to this date. I want parent code, primary group. I've just chosen these basic options. Okay, and let's just say okay. Let's see what happens. Normally it takes a few seconds and pushes, or rather pulls, all the data from Tally into an Excel spreadsheet. And the beauty of this is that it is in an analyzable format. It is in an analyzable format. Never has a tally daybook come in such crisp and easy format for us. Now, assuming you are doing an audit of only purchases, all that you have to go is go to this parent, click on purchases. You have the list of ledgers which you have to go through. Of course, here you just have one ledger. Assuming you have multiple ledgers, all of them at one shot you have. You can just highlight these voucher numbers and sort of create a unique field, identify all the JVs of that particular number, and it becomes very quickly. Okay. Let's say you don't like this, you want it in a different format, you want the entire ledger abstract. So I go to daybook, I go click on ledger vouchers, and this time what I do is I go to extract. I want only a single ledger, and let's say I want to choose it for a particular month only, for want of time, otherwise it may take 2 to 3 minutes, just to benefit of everybody. So I can choose only purchases, 14.5%. Sorry, I think I'll go by the parent, and here I have an option to choose which is that ledger I want. Let's say I choose purchases. Sorry, there it is. Okay, I've chosen only purchases and I click OK. All the purchases ledger appears. I just say select all. And the beauty is it gives me an option. Do you want to extract it in a separate worksheet for each ledger? Or can I just extract everything at one shot? And if I choose separate ledger worksheet for each ledger, it can also create an index for me. Let us say I choose this only for the first month of April and I click OK. In a click of a button, the entire data from Excel is coming to this particular spreadsheet along with even an index. Of course, sheet 1 was something which I just temporarily had. Daybook is something which we exported. Sheet 10 was simple. And look at this. At one shot, you get the entire purchases. Of course, the transactions are low, but I have had clients where I've dealt with where the transactions in Tally, a ledger in a single day runs in at least about 5,000 line items. And imagine if you have to apply audit tests, it becomes very, very difficult. And this is one simple tool where you're able to do it. Now, if everything was extracted in one sheet, it will still give you the same format. And the beauty is it will give you which is the ledger, which is the corresponding ledger, what is the voucher type, what is the voucher number, and the debit amount. So that's the power of this particular solution. And I found it very handy when I was doing a forensic audit. From here, I was able to pick up a lot of things and I can, pick and choose what I want. Now, many a times, many participants ask me, sir, is there a tool where we can do reverse? From Excel, can I push something into Tally? That is also possible. It's another software, again, developed by the same company. It's called E2Tally Soft, but I'm not going to spend some time over there because many of them ask this as a general question. I'm just clarifying. E2Tally and TCAT. These are two add-ons which I use exclusively, and this saves a huge amount of time and resources. Pricing, cost, and other things, I would best leave it to go to that company's website and you will get some information about it. Okay, so let me quickly move on to the next thing which I wanted to take you through, my dear friends, and that is how do I use, Excel. Okay, these are things which I will probably just give a reference. This is the Excel add-on which I told you. This is an RPA solution. Probably will not spend too much time here. Tally to Excel. This is what I just showed it to you. And now let's quickly move to some practical demos using Excel as a cat. Okay. So any data which you have normally has these 4 formats. One is text, one is numbers, then you have the date format, and you have the Boolean, which is a combination or some special strings, etc. Now what happens is your entire work in Excel starts from the stage you actually import a particular file from the CSV, Tally, or bank, whatever bank audit you're doing, whatever format it is. From there, you start the work. It has to pull it into Excel. So that is the first thing which you do. and then you need to cleanse the data. Let's see how that can be done in a simple approach, and let me quickly take you through that particular thing. Okay, just give me a minute. I will quickly take you to the relevant screen so that there's no confusion. Hands-on training, data consumption. Okay, and just a minute. I've just paused the screen share because the file is taking a couple of seconds for it to load. Okay, so I'm resuming share. So I hope you're able to see my screen. So can you see this data consumption? Okay, a couple of them have already done some research, and I've also identified the price of the product. That's great. Okay, so I see a Excel spreadsheet which says like this: serial number, consumption, and some basic information. And I'm sure you normally get your bank statements when you go for bank audit in a format like this. It's a little hard for you to, sort of, get this into a sizable or a mechanism where you can easily analyze. So let's see what I use. I copy this entire data and I go to a spreadsheet, okay, and I just paste them there. And when I paste them here, this entire data is in a within one column. And you obviously cannot analyze this. So there is a beautiful function to split this text, and that splitting the text is basically called as split text to columns. So I go to the data tab, I go click on text to columns. While whatever I teach may be basic for a few of them, some may feel that, what is sir talking about? Hang on, because there are some things new which you'll always learn. So I have two options, delimited or fixed width. Fixed width is whenever I have the text in a fixed gap. This is normally applicable with banks who have designed the report which will fit into that big dot matrix printer, 125 column dot matrix printer, correct? But the problem is when the printer understands what is the format. If it puts into a notepad, everything comes in a different format. So delimited will work in those sort of situations. Okay, fixed width work in those sort of situations. Delimited is when I have a common attribute to split the text. So what I do here is I choose fixed width over here for the time being. So if I can split the data, I can split the data only with the serial number. And very important, if I scroll down, I can see that this is all I can do. Reason I say this is all I can do is if I split this as consumption and put it over here, let's see what happens to the text below. Can you find it here? Unit is not getting split correctly. So this is like a preview. So I don't want this. Let me split at least the first information correctly. So I just click on next. And this is obviously a number format. So I put it as general and I just finish it. Okay, I've completed the first step when it comes to, splitting the data or pushing it into this particular information. The moment I've done this, my dear friends, now I need to split this. The trouble is I told you that I cannot split it. So we can choose one option, and the option is called delimited. I can go click on next, and I know the space is the field which I can use to split it. Can you find it? The moment I click on space, all of them come into multiple columns. Okay, so I can just choose next. I can choose what these are. I can click on this and I can choose this is date. What is a month? DMY format. This is general. This is text. And I can just say finish. So I have my entire data split into these. I can mention date. I can mention, let's say, consumption here. And let's say I mention units here. Now GB is obviously not relevant for me. So let me ignore this and I have this data ready. But the trouble or the catch under this method is that here the data, I was able to get it into some sort of a split format. But many a times I'm not able to split it even based on space. So what do I do in those cases? So let me copy this text again, and let me copy it once again just for the benefit of all of them. I've copied the text as it is. And what I did was, first, I just put a fixed width and I said clicked on next. And I just click finish. Okay. So this is the first step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a function called as Excel flash fill. Now what flash fill does is that based upon what you're going to type in the next column, the subsequent columns automatically are pre-filled. Can you see here? I did not do anything. I just typed the word 3 unit. I just typed the word 5. Automatically it is prompting that, hey, this is what is the data which you want to fill it. If I click on enter, my dear friends, at a click of a button, this entire information is ready for me. I need not sit and do split text to columns, nothing. Mind you, text to column or this particular feature is available only in 2013 Excel and above. My highly recommended suggestion for all of you is please have Office 365 or Microsoft 365, because Excel and Word, Microsoft is deploying a lot of artificial intelligence into these software. Okay, I'll probably show you one of these AI-based solution as well. Microsoft's AI-based solution as well. Okay, so this is the unit number. Now we have to type the date, right? So I just type 24 March 2019, correct? I then type 15 August 2019, and I can just go here and do Control E. Look at this. Automatically it is understood that I need to fill and choose these attributes. So just come down, scroll through whether the inputs have been right, and if you feel it is accurate, please go ahead. And what is the next thing I do? 0.384 GB, or I can simply choose 0.384 and 1.201. And what do I do? Control E, flash fill. The moment I choose flash fill, it is understood that I need to take this part of the text, and that is the reason it has automatically taken it. I name this and I name this. My dear friends, I have the data ready for my analysis. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to talk about, a simple method for you to get this information into shape. Text, numbers, date, boolean. The first function which I wanted to take you through was flash fill. Okay, now when I'm doing this analysis, I realize that some unit was over here, but I do not know the name of this unit. I do not know what is the name of this unit over here. So for that, what I do, I have another spreadsheet which says what are the names of each of those units. And I want the names of these units to appear over here. Okay, so this is the unit number, whereas I want the unit description. So if I want the unit description, one option is I go search here, copy paste here, go search here, copy paste here. It is just a time consuming job. But why can't I do something to make it better? And that function is called as vertical lookup, VLOOKUP. So I tell the system, hey, you know what? VLOOKUP this particular value, which is unit, comma, where I want to look it up in this particular table. Okay, I press F4 so that that particular constant is considered, comma, in this column, I want the second text to appear, comma 0. So the moment I do this, you can find that, you know, it is ready. Okay, so it is ready, and I have all this information available over here. And if I just double click on this, in a click of a button, I have all of them filled in. Can you find this? How quickly and simple it is? That's the beauty of it. Assuming over here, one of the unit name, for example, the third unit was hormones, but it had 2 extra spaces. When I do a VLOOKUP, it will say NA, which is because it is not available. So in this case, we have to also learn one very important function. Many of them are asking, sir, how do I get narration into a particular format? So you have to use a function called is equal to trim. What trim does is it ensures the space is removed between the text. For example, can you see over here? There are two spaces over here. Whereas when I go to this, of course, I have to pay special the value. Look into the pay special value. There is no space at all. Correct? So the space is being removed. If I go here, there were 2-3 spaces. Here, the space is being removed. So the moment I do this, this can help you to clean up the data. Alternatively, there is another function that is also called as clean. But what clean does is it ensures that, if you have some non-printable character, sometimes you may have some image, etc., you can use this to also to clean it up. Okay, so that's one important function when it comes to this. The next thing which I also want to make a mention is the power of a table. Okay, so you can click on this entire data and click on data. Okay, or you can just click on insert and go to this option called as table, and you can create an entire table. Now you must be wondering, sir, what is the advantage of table? My dear friends, table itself has got a host of hundreds of options. So I just click on table and I just say, okay, it just formed a table. This is okay. Okay, now let's presume I have to write the formula over here once again. Now see what happens. Of course, let me get this corrected. The space, I removed it. I write is equal to VLOOKUP. Write this, comma. Choose this particular table, F4, comma 3, comma 2, comma 0. The moment I hit enter for the first, the entire set of attributes gets automatically filled. And the beauty is, look at this. If I come down also, can you see here the names have got changed? It is no longer A, B, C, D, E. It is serial number, unit, date, consumption, and unit description. And that's the powerful feature what this table offers. As though this is not sufficient, you can click this entire text, okay, the number, and can you find one small icon over here? And this is called as quick analysis, control Q. This control Q gets activated. The moment you click on quick analysis, you get a whole lot of these options. For example, you want to know the top 10 consumption, just click over here. You get to know who are the top 10 consumptions. It's obviously highlighted. You need to filter it. You get to know what it is. So how do I, and by default in a table, filter is applied. Okay, so you can just filter it. Of course, filter itself, I can take you probably about for a very long point in time, but nevertheless, let me quickly show you the basics. Okay, now that I've got a clarity on this particular thing, let me quickly go to the next bucket. I can pick and choose this entire column. Okay, I can again go here. I can choose clear the formatting, and I can say, boss, please insert a data bar. Now look at this. It gives me a perspective of which is high and which is low. At a click of a button, I'm able to identify this. Now let me say if you're doing a statutory audit, or if you're doing a bank audit, and this is something which I applied a couple of years back. I asked the bank, please give me the borrower wise, account wise outstanding amount. They gave me a schedule. What it did was I asked them to give it for 4 quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. I added all the quarterly numbers over here. Let's say, for example, I'm just choosing this number, and let us presume I add this over here. Okay, and let's say this is Q1 and this is Q2. Okay, I'm just pushing these both in the extreme right. Okay, so that I'm able to bring in some data. Okay, now let us say all this information should be enhanced. Let's presume that I want that to be multiplied into 5 or 10. Okay, so by the way, how do I multiply all this text into one at one shot by one number? I can click on this number, copy, choose this entire text, Alt Control V, which is paste special, and in paste special I have an option called multiply, and if I just say okay, let's see what the result is. All of them at one shot have got been multiplied into 10. Can you find this? Okay, so you don't want multiply by 10, you want to divide it by 5. Okay, copy this 5, Alt Control V, value, divide, at one shot you get it. Look at the pace at which it can do. Okay, so now what I do is I can choose this text, these both text, and click on this icon and say create a spark line. It can give me one shot what is the overall picture, and I can just double click this. Of course, everything will give me a straight increasing trend, because I know I'm speaking about everything getting multiplied into 5 or multiplied into 2. But assuming the values are different, let us say here it is 1. Okay, here I find 1.7, correct? And so it gives me different ways. The beauty is the more the columns, the more interactive these lines get, and these are called spark lines. These can help you out for you to do a quick audit. Okay, so coming back to the context, so this is what table can offer for you. And if you go to this option of table design, you can also create total row. So the moment you choose total row, automatically a total gets created. And you can also click on this and say, I don't want total, I want the average. I don't want average, I want the count. I don't want count, I want the count of numbers. I don't want count of numbers, I want a maximum. I want a minimum. So you can see how much you can play around with this data in a click of a button. And all this is possible only if you have inserted a table. Click on more functions, you can do a much more functions. You have so much more which you can do on this particular column. Okay, so that's simply how tables can be used. Now these tables, my dear friends, can be used further. Now you must be thinking, why am I speaking so much on tables? See, at the end of the day, we get data in Excel spreadsheets. The question is, we need to analyze them to bring it to the next stage. Can I slice this data in a format where I can choose what I want? Yes, possible. So go to this table design. There is an option called Insert Slicer. So I choose serial number for, let's say I choose unit description and I choose date as a slicer. The moment I choose these, look at this. I get these two slicers with me, and this is something called as dynamic filter. And what is dynamic filter? Let's say I want only the unit description called as capsules. I double click capsules, look at this. Automatically filter is applied over here. I want capsules and enzymes. So I just hold capsules and enzymes control, I get it. Okay, I don't want this. I want it only on 1st January 19. Double click it, I get it here. So imagine the more the number of fields, the more the amount of customization and slices you can do. And this is how you slice and dice your data. This option is again available only in Excel 2013 or 16 and above only. Okay, so imagine how much of time we could literally save, my dear friends, when we are trying to adopt these things. You are also able to get a better view or perspective of data. Okay, so this slicer and dicer is also available for pivot. How is it used for pivot? I'll explain, because pivot is one more very, very powerful function which I'm yet to explain it. And if you ask me, if you have to do any company's audit, 3 very simple things for you to do an audit: do a table, do a lookup, do a pivot. 40 to 70% of your analysis, these 3 alone will give you. Okay, so lookup is used when you have to compare table A with table B. Table function is used for the various features which I told you, and pivot is used whenever you want to summarize the data. So those are 3 things which it is. Those are the 3 functions which is basically used. I think my Excel is just taking a little longer to process it. I don't know why, but yeah, that's basically what I wanted to make a mention on table. So coming back to my screen, the PPT. So flash fill I spoke about, trim I spoke about, sort and filter I'll speak about it in probably a minute. VLOOKUP we already had a look into it. I'm not sure why this spreadsheet is taking a little longer. While it is taking some time, let's quickly move to the next thing. So I spoke about tables. I'll also speak about pivot tables and slicers. So hope you're finding this handy and useful and some interesting things to learn. because Excel is something that, every day, even if you start spending even in half an hour or 1 hour, you will learn so much more. Okay, so that's the beauty of the Excel. Just give me a minute. I'm just pausing the screen share. I'll probably come back. I don't know why my Excel has got hung up. I have not chosen any other add-on, so hopefully it should still work. Yeah, in the meanwhile, if there's any Q&A, you can please post it in the message chat window. Let's take the Q&A while this is being fixed. Any questions which is coming up, sir? What is the cost of Microsoft 365? 555 rupees per month per user. It's a subscription based model, yes. 555 rupees per user per month. If it is only Microsoft Office, if you want it along with email ID and other things, it may be probably 660 rupees. Investment in Microsoft is highly, highly, highly recommended. Not in the shares of the company, I meant in the tools. I seriously believe, or I'm of the opinion, that unless we invest in technology, my dear friends, we will not be able to progress further. Okay, I think it is getting hung up when I share the screen. I don't know why. I think Microsoft does not like Zoom. It just started working when I was showing it. I am just not able to understand why. Sometimes it happens because when you share the screen and multiple spreadsheets are open, it may pose that error. Okay, if there's any more questions, keep it coming. We will quickly take it up. Don't worry, I will address it. I'll also show you how you can do a procurement audit because I'm showing you the various functions, and at the end of the day, I have to link it with an audit, right? So that's a very important critical thing.
Any queries, please?
Any queries, feel free to quickly drop a message. Should you want to unmute yourself and share your thoughts, feel free to do it.
I think nobody has.
Oh, okay, that is a little scary for me. If no questions, that means that you have either understood everything or you have not understood anything.
The one question is there, I think.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly see. Can you once again show how to get slices and dices? Yes, just a minute. Hopefully my Excel sheet doesn't get hung up now. Okay, it's not hanging up. Sometimes Zoom and Excel don't like each other. Okay, so let's quickly go to, I created a table. I hope you're able to recollect. I go to the table. Oh, by the way, I am a guy who does not, assuming you're a guy who does not like blue, you can jump over and switch the screen color. But yeah. Okay, so I have this option over here, which is called as insert slicer. Okay, and that's the option which I'm speaking about. You get it under the table design, insert slicer. Okay, so that's the option. Let me quickly jump into one important thing, which is the filter and sort. I think we already spoke about filter and sort. I will just delete this, or rather I'll just remove this. So if I have to do a filter and sort, my dear friends, we all know that you press an alt down arrow, or you can just choose the text and you can apply the filter, you get this. Okay, let me talk about a few things which is unknown when it comes to filter. Okay, probably you can call it as an option of advanced filter. So what I do over here is I just click the down arrow. The moment I click down arrow, you can find the dates. This is something which we already, all of us know. But if you click on this option called date filter, this has got so much of interesting options. Let's say you're filing a GST return for your client for this month and the last month, and you wanted to do an overall comparison of month on month. All that you have to do is click on these options, this month, next month, last month. It will give you a click of a button. But of course, if I say next month, it will not give me anything because the data I'm dealing with is 2019. But what I can obviously choose amongst this is I can pick and choose which is the field which I want to pick up, or which is the field I want to do the analysis, and all of those are possible. So what are the other alternative options under the filter? You can possibly choose multiple days, multiple months. You can choose this month. You have an option called year to date. Again, sorry, my Excel is getting hung up because of Zoom. I'll have to stop sharing. But yes, that is an option which is available. Probably I may not use, I may have to stop the usage of filter functions, maybe. Pleasantly surprised because I just had one session in the morning and it was working perfectly fine. And the session in the morning, I was dealing with about 10 lakh line items. And that's serious big data. Okay, now it again starts working. Very surprising. Okay, let me see if I can close my other spreadsheets to avoid this trouble. Because at the end of the day, technology is such that it will work 24/7 except the time when you want it to work. Jokes apart, but let me come to the context. Let me quickly share this. Okay, so what are the other options over here in date filters? Please look at this. You have equals before, after, today, tomorrow, yesterday, next week, this week, month, last quarter, this year, last year, all the dates in the period, all of them which are October, filter for October. At one shot you will get all the October transactions, correct? So like this you can keep on creating multiple queries, which is possible, and these are all powerful features which you can build. The next thing which I'm going to take you through, of course, maybe advanced filters, depending on time I will take you through, because sometimes you have to create an index array and all of those things. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, so let's say is equal to filter. This is my array, and this is my column, and this is where my column is. Okay, no, it is taking some time. Okay, let's ignore this. Okay, I think I may have to run this on the unit. Okay, it's taking some time. There's been some glitch over there. I will work on that and come back. But yeah, now the next thing which I want to take you through is a pivot. Okay, so I have the data tab. I go to I go to the insert tab and I go to pivot table. And I click on pivot. It asks me to choose a range. I've already chosen the range, created a new worksheet, and I say okay. Now what is a pivot? Pivot is a summary. So I want to know what are all the unit description, and what is the Q1 information, and what is the Q2 information. At one shot, I get the summary. Now, the beauty of this is this very pivot can be prepared in multiple methods. Let's ignore, I choose only Q1. Now, I can drag a Q1 and I can just click on this value field settings and say count. Now, look at this. All the items is 730, maybe because it is equally spread, whatever. Now, I want to identify which is the highest in this and which is the least in this. So click and drag it again, right click this, go to pivot, show summarize values by maximum. Can you see the maximum value appears? I want to show the minimum, again click and drag, come down to it, right click this, summarize, show summarize value as minimum. Okay, now as though this is not sufficient, I want even the average, click and drag this, right click, show value, show value as so summarize value as average. So can you see this, what all information a click of a button your pivot is able to generate? As though this is not sufficient, let us say I want some more analysis out of this. I click another pivot and I want unit description and Q1, but now I want this to be sorted. So I can just go click here, sort it based on Z to A or A to Z. I can also sort based on the value filters. I can say value filters greater than, lesser than, I can choose it. Or I can click on Q1, drag it, choose the value filter over here as count, and apply a filter, right click on this and say please sort it largest to smallest. Can you see this? The largest to smallest is covered. Now what I do is I want to have the cumulative total, so I drag this, I say right click and say show value as a running total. So each of them is contributing to one particular value, correct? So I'm able to identify if I want to verify 30% of the population, all that I have to do is just verify these. I've taken the top two, which constitutes 30%. If I want to verify 80% of the population, just come down here. You're verifying 80% of the population. Of course, you're going based upon these values. Okay, so these are again powerful features which are there in Excel spreadsheet. These are just pivots where you can do. And if you do not want this, of course, running total, you can also mention it as show value by percentage of parent column. Sorry, I think you have to choose parent row. Sorry. Correct. So you can also get this statistics available. So there are different views in giving you this particular information. Now let me go one step further in showing you a different type of a pivot. And that pivot is bringing the units description here, Q1 here. And very important, we are doing GST reconciliation and I want a month-wise comparison. So click on this icon called as date and drag them here. The moment you drag them here, my dear friends, you have an option called as group selection. This option appears in pivot table analyze group selection. So please click on group selection. It will tell you what you want to group them by. You want to group them by day, you want to group them by month, you want to group them by quarter, you want to group them by year. And if you click OK, by default, it gives you these options. So just to drag the year over here, okay, or you can ignore year, you can just drag the month over here, okay, and you can remove the date field. Look at this information. Can you find? And of course, you can remove the quarter also. Look at this table. Month-wise, your GST returns, if at all you're planning to prepare a summary, you have the data ready. It just took me less than 5 to 10 seconds. What did I do? I dragged the date field over here. I'll just repeat it. Drag the date field over here. The moment I drag the date field over here, go to this pivot table analyze, click on the date field and ensure I have this group selection chosen and you choose month. So the moment you have chosen month, drag the month over here, you have your pivot ready. Now, can I make it quarterly? 100% yes. Why not? Drag quarters, remove months. But only thing you have to keep in mind, this quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, it comes based on a calendar year quarter. It doesn't come based on your financial year quarter. So which means Q1 is January to February, February, March. Q4 is December. So that only to that extent you have to be a little careful. I know a couple of questions are coming in. I will take them. We have another 10 minutes, so I'll just give you a thought process. So that's basically how you sort of look into unit description, quarter. What more pivot can we prepare? Let's see if I can prepare one more pivot. And here again, I'm drawing unit description. I'm drawing Q1, and I want to, of course, sort this. So right click, sort by largest to smallest. Now I choose date, or I can just choose this. Let's see if I can choose a group selection. Okay, this is not possible here. Can you find a group option? Okay, this is not possible. So date we will choose. Let's choose a date over here. and I want only the month. Okay. Of course, I don't want the date. Now, let's say I want to create a chart out of this. I want to create a chart out of this. Now, I can pick and choose this, and I just go to pivot chart or recommend pivot tables. It will automatically, sorry, like I can go click on this and I can just choose pivot chart. It will give me a few recommended pivot charts. But the problem is this is too complicated for me to understand. So what I do is I choose some other chart like this. Let's see how it looks. Wow. Looks some sort of a sensible to some extent. Now I can now simply draw a conclusion that, you know, it is info fusions is the highest, whereas tablets is the least, and I get month-wise. But this doesn't solve my problem. I want to analyze in a different format as well. I go to pivot chart and I go click on insert slicer and I say, hey, you know what? Insert a slicer called as unit description and insert a slicer called quarter. So let's see how this looks like. I know I'm unzooming it a little, only then you will get a visibility. So let's say I choose Q1. Look at this. Table is updated. This is updated. I choose Q2. Both of them are updated. Q3. Can you find how the data is dynamically changing? Correct. I've chosen both of these. Now I want only bell actin. So I have only one. I have only capsules and enzymes. Look at the beauty, how dynamic my data is. Now, don't you think if you're able to do any sort of MIS reporting, etc., with such sort of a dynamic dashboards, so much of information you'll be able to pick up, correct? And this can help you so much for your audit. And you also have an option called in slicer. I mean, these are color codings, etc., which you can do, but you can just click on the pivot and you can choose a insert timeline. Timeline is obviously the date. Now this is an added feature. You can go click on July, you can go click on July, August, September. You can click on Q3 and show me only September. Correct? So how dynamic the data can get is all of these are possible. Okay, so that's basically slicer and dicer for you. And we have another 3 to 4 minutes. Let me quickly take up one case on how you want to do an audit of procurement. Okay, so this is a case where you have got the data from Tally. This is typically how it appears with some more extra fields, PO number, vendor code, some basic information are there. So first and foremost, we need to spend some time to shape this, correct? And you know, data is available everywhere. You need to sort of filter, or you know, let's go to sales because that may probably be a little easier. I think. Just give me a minute. I think I have a formatted table. This formatting will take some time. Okay, I have a formatted table here. Let's see what is the information. The first thing what I do, the moment I see something nice in this format, first thing what I do is I click the entire thing and I put a table. Okay, so now that I've put a table, okay, so I can go click and choose the table design, whatever I feel like. That is left up to me. Okay, once I've chosen this, you know, let us say I go to the PO date just to understand some statistics. Okay, so I know the audit period what I'm looking into is 16-17, and these are the months which I have. Great. What is the PO number? I have the entire PO number series. I have the vendor code. I have the vendor name, material code, quantity, unit price, amount, user ID, location. Okay, so I have some basic information. Now let's apply a pivot. Now you have to tell me where all I can apply a pivot. Again, just using few basic tips. Hundreds of analysis is possible, but I want to stick on to a few basics. Okay, because it's just giving you an overview. Because Excel is so voluminous, you know, we can run into hours and days. And in fact, when I start speaking about CAT tools, you'll be surprised. CAT tools can go to the next level. Okay, whatever I did, all of this in click of a button, it can give me. I'll show you that one last so that you get an idea about it. Maybe we can have a CAT tool session sometime later. Okay, so what is it that I basically want to look into this? I want to see what is the amount. So I click here, amount. Okay, I know who is the amount. Now, what is it that I want to know the amount? This is nothing but my purchases made. Now, if I have my purchase paid, I want to know based on the vendor name how much I have purchased. Okay, so go click here, vendor name. I can go and choose what I've purchased. Okay, these are what I've purchased. Right click, I can just go sort largest to smallest. So I know Anand and Anand is the guy from whom maximum I've purchased. The stall is around 2 lakh. Fantastic. Now I want to know which are the products I have purchased the maximum. So which are the products? I have something called as a material code. So let's come here. For each of these fellows, I will click on material code. I'll just drag it over here. So this fellow Anand and Anand is supplied 234 items, correct? But I don't know how many of them are unique in that. So if I want unique in that, what I have to do? Drag the material code and push it over here, correct? So you can find that, this material code, these are all the vendors who supplied this material code. These are all the vendors who have supplied. Now I can do a lot of these analysis, and let's figure out what is the date. Okay, I have my PO date. So drag the PO date. Of course, I don't want the years. I don't want the quarter, but I'll definitely require the month. So is the month there? Yeah, PO date month is there. So I'll just pull that over here. Remove the vendor material code. This is my vendor wise purchases, month wise. Now, if you remember, I was talking about slicers and dicers. I can use this on this, or I can just choose this data. Okay, I can just choose this data in a very simple approach, and I can create a flash fill out of this. I can just create this, Control Q. Okay, flash fill will not work on a pivot. I have to copy paste this, but I can definitely do this. So I just click this, click over here. I can create a spark line, and please tell me how this movement is. Of course, a grand total will obviously be spiked, correct? Now look at this. I roughly got to know vendor wise what has been my surge, what has been my spike, etc. You feel, sir, this is too narrow for me. I want to get a better visibility. Okay, don't worry. Just pick and choose this. Go to data tab. Oh, sorry, go to insert. Go to recommended charts. It will automatically tell you which is the chart, correct? You can get some various patterns. Just pick and choose, or you can just go to bar chart, choose based on line chart. You get all those visibility, correct? Of course, this becomes very too much for you to digest. So you have to put in slicers and dicers. So what is a slicer you can put in over here? You can put of course, sorry, for that, if you have to run the slicer and dicer, you have to do it on the pivot. I think I ran it on this. You can run it on this particular data. Okay, pivot table analyze, click on slicer. You can choose what you want. You can either choose material code as a slicer. You can choose location as a slicer. You just choose these both. So I want to know how much of these items are supplied to Bangalore. Okay, how much of them supplied to Chennai? How much of them supplied to Mumbai? Look at this, how dynamic it is. So you can pick and choose how you want to, and accordingly make this entire chart or table flexible. Okay, so that's basically how I wanted to show you what are the basic functionalities or features. And the last thing which I wanted to tell you on how you can use CAD tools, just to say that what is possible. I'm taking a sales file because it's a little simpler. I'm using another software called as ECAD, and I simply want to get an overall perspective of this particular data. So for this, I just want a MIS report. Okay, I just want an MIS report of this entire sales. Let's see what the software can do for me. I want the sales, and what is it that I want? I want which day of the week the sales are, which month, which quarter, which year. And it can also give me Yeah, I think this is sufficient for me for the time being. So let's run this. It may take a few seconds, but in a click of a button, it will generate all of these reports. It's loading the results. It's loading day of the week. So day of the week is whether it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. Day of the month is basically first day of the month, second day of the month, third day of the month, etc. So it will load that way. And I think it is giving me in a fresh spreadsheet. It will come out. So it will take a few minutes. But yes, in the meanwhile, I will stop the sharing and I'll take up the forum for questions. Yes, please feel free to ask me your questions while the macro is running in the backend to give the result. Am I audible?
Remote audit question is in chat box.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Suddenly I didn't. Okay, so let's quickly see a few questions. Okay, some of them are asking, is Office 365 subscription based? Yes. Something more on VLOOKUP? Okay, I'll probably show you. Just give me a minute. What more do you want to learn on VLOOKUP? Okay, so let me show you a simple functions on VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP itself can run into hours. Each of the functions we can do one separate web series on that. At least 5 to 10 minutes I can speak on each of them. Sometimes go into much more advanced. Okay, so I have the sales file. I have the user ID here and I have the limit over here. Now I want to check or I want to do an audit whether all these persons, these user ID, this is the invoice amount, whether have they performed the invoice processing within that limit. So what I do here is I just write is equal to VLOOKUP. Please search for SA. Why do I have to search for SA? Over here, F4. Please give me the second column and just look at this. I get it one shot. What is the limit? Now all that I have to write is I have to write a simple formula is equal to if this amount is greater than this amount, then violation. Else, okay. Sorry, I think I cannot give the quotation. Can you find this at one shot? So I know how many of them are violated. So all these fellows are violated. Limit is 20,000. That fellow has performed a transaction of 1,95,000. Now you have to use 2 to 3 steps. So this is basically how you can do a VLOOKUP, limit, violation. So that's VLOOKUP for you, just because there are some more thing we can do it. Next question, let me quickly move. Please, okay, that's a question from organizer, sorry. Does 555 include Power BI? My dear friend, Power BI is totally free. Anybody wants, they can download it. You need not to even pay 555 rupees. Power BI is totally free. Okay, so since this is one common question which everybody keeps asking me, I think I should clarify that. Let me go to Office 365. Okay, home versus professional. This is something which many of them keep asking. I believe in showing it live. Of course, ignore the pricing because it's gone to .com. Okay, it's automatically come to India. Okay, let's see. Okay, so for home, this cannot be used by us because this is for home. We have to use for business because we are using it for a commercial purpose. So you can find that Office 365 basic 125 rupees. This is the standard one, 660 rupees, which I told you. This will give you all the Microsoft apps, including the email ID. Whereas if you don't want email ID, you have to choose this. Sorry. Okay. I'm presuming it was accidental. So all these apps are included. Okay, Office 365, all of these apps are included. And it also gives you 1 TB space, cloud storage space. If you ask me this, at least you or the proprietor or the partner should have an Office 365 account. Your staff, you can either give them a normal Excel, of course a licensed version, or if you're not okay with the licensed version, if you feel Microsoft license is too expensive, my suggestion is 2 or 3 licenses in your office. Please have the official Microsoft licenses. Rest of them by using this Office 365. The rest of them, please pick up a open source license. Now, what is an open source license? For example, you have something called Open Office. Now, what is Open Office? Open Office is basically by a separate company called Apache Open Office. Now, this, if you download this, you will have the same thing like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, for which you need not pay any license fee because it's open source. Okay, whereas for Microsoft, if you buy it, you have to pay a fee because that's how the Microsoft end user agreement is working. Okay, so that's something which I thought I should clarify because that's one of the most commonly asked questions wherever I am taking a session. Okay, it is 100% worthwhile to invest in a license. The returns are great. Okay, can you tell how you got slices and dices? I think I showed. Converting into table, I think I made a mention. Converting into table is very simple. Control T, that's all. Table created. In VLOOKUP, how to negate the values which are duplicating. Rajiv ji, Mr. Rajiv, that is always a problem in VLOOKUP. What you can do is, see, VLOOKUP itself works only if the values are unique. If it's duplicate, then apply a pivot, and after that, on that you apply a VLOOKUP. Who's the vendor for the book Digitizing CA Office? Okay, I have not gone with any vendor, my dear friend. It is just published for Karnataka State Chartered Accountants Association. Because of this lockdown, there was a lot of issues in getting the book published, etc. And Bangalore is entering into one more lockdown with effect from 8 p.m. tonight. Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm trying to make an e-book available. If it is there, I will notify it to you. Now it's back. How about remote audit? Okay, sorry, I think I missed mentioning it. Sir, is it okay if we can take about a few minutes?
Chairman.
Roy sir, is it okay? Okay, great. Okay, so one thing on remote audit. Thanks. I know that I'll forget it. That is the reason I asked you to remind it me. You're able to see my tally screen? Okay, so quickly go to this alters icon. We have enabled a security feature, right? Now what you have to do, go to this control center. Okay, you have to log in with your tally.net user ID. Now, how do you know what is your tally.net user ID? You have this details over here. You just have to enter them. Okay, so let me enter this. This is my Gmail ID, which is connected since quite some time. The moment I log in, oh my goodness, I've forgotten the password. 1 minute. This is one more thing with passwords. Okay, thank you. It worked. Okay, you can find that you have an option called user management. So what you should do is, whichever client of yours wants to give you the access to Tally, okay, you have to go to the client's system, log in with the client's account ID. If you've forgotten the password, you can reset the password. It's very quick. Once you have logged in, click on user management. And in user management, there is an option called standard user or owner. You can click either of those. Okay. If you click on owner, the privileges are a little more. Click on them and click the name of the user. In my case, I've given my colleague. And here I give them tally.net user, yes. Okay. So this person is a tally.net user. And what a tally.net user can do is, even if that person does not have a valid Tally license, he can work. So first is you have to create the user ID. Once user ID is created, okay. So in my case, my colleague already had the username. In your case, what you have to do, you have to type abc@gmail.com, whatever. One mail will come to that website for that email ID. You will get a username password. Please use that username password. You can access it. And once you are done, you have to log out from the control center. Go to security control. Go to users. Under that, you have an option called tally.net auditor. So assuming you are using your own tally.net ID, please enter your tally.net ID in your client system. And very important, this browser access should be enabled as yes. This browser access is available only in Tally release 6 and above. Tally release 6 came up recently. Release 6.6, sorry, 6.6 came up recently. Release 6.6 and above, this browser uses that. Remote access, yes. Allow TDLs, yes. If you do this, what happens is, let's see the magic. I go to tallysolutions.com. I go to login option. I log in. The moment I log in, my dear friends, I'm not sure how many of them have tried this. Look at this, Sri Krishna Traders. You can click on this. Okay. You can retrieve the entire balance sheet of your company. Okay. And it looks exactly like Tally balance sheet. You have this data. You can sit at your home, even if you don't have Tally, you can use it. Even it will work on a MacBook, it will work even on a mobile phone because it runs on a browser. Now you can download this either as an Excel or PDF. The earlier version gave only PDF access, then they updated even Excel you can download. You can click on fixed assets, go into fixed assets in detail, browse through this, finish your entire audit sitting at your home happily. Only thing, escape will not work, you have to go click back, and you have control E will not work, you have to click on down. And you want to change the period, you can change the period. And this is how easily you can do remote audit sitting from your home. Because you've got access to Tally, right? What more do you want? Now you'll say, no, sir, I want daybook, vouchers, all those things. Sir, today almost 70 to 80% of the data is digital. Bank statement you can do remotely audit, correct? You can finish your GSTR reconciliation remotely. You can finish your TDS reconciliation remotely. What you cannot do remotely is that vouching and ticking. So if wherever clients are having digital method, ask them to share it. Then spend only 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 months depending on what you have to spend on vouching. Go there and spend it. Simple. There are hundreds of things which is possible. You just have to sit and explore this. Okay. You also have the daybook which you can download. Click on daybook. It will take some time. Please note, it is connected through Tally through a secured connection. It is not on the cloud. So I can pick and choose. The only problem in a daybook is it will choose only for 1 day because it is a daybook. Okay, it will not appear for an entire period. You may have to choose it day by day and sort of download it. That's the only one limitation. Otherwise, this is a beautiful feature. So you need not even have Tally. You can use it. Assuming you have Tally educational version. Let's say you have Tally educational version. I'm opening one more Tally for the benefit of you guys. You can log in as remote user. Even if you don't have even if you have educational version, log in as remote users. Enter the Tally auditor's details, and you can access them. Can you see the difference? The only difference is in browser, you can only view reports and maximum download the reports. That to statutory, you can't download, only the basic views. Purchase register you will get, but not the GSTR 3D. Whereas here, you will get everything. Here you can make data entry also. And the beauty is if you make data entry, the entry will not be stored here. It will be stored in your client's machine. Or assuming you are giving access from your office to your article staff, the data will still be stored in your office. But what if your article staff deletes? Your data will get deleted from your office. Okay, so that was remote audit. Will this presentation be shared? Definitely, sir. I'll be happy to share it. If I have Office 2013 licensed version, do we still need Office 365? No, sir. If you have Office 2013 licensed version, you need not worry about it. But the only challenge is forever you'll have only Office 2013. Any updates which Microsoft is coming up with, you will not get it. Okay, hopefully I've answered all the questions. If there's anything more, you can drop a message in the chat window. Otherwise, I've exceeded time by 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that because I was taking through the flow. Over to the organizers. Thank you.
I think all the questions are cleared. If I have MS Office 2013, did you see it?
Yeah. I just spoke about that. You can pick it up. MS Office 2013. you will not you Office 365 and MS Office 2013 are totally different.
Perhaps nobody might have any other questions. I feel so.
All right, so I've dropped my contact coordinates on chat window. Feel free to reach out to me for any questions, clarifications. I'll be happy. If you still want my other details, it's here. I'm a regular speaker on technology. You will find various places. You can go to my YouTube channel. I've spoken some, on how you can use Tally for audit, how you can use Tally for automation, how you can use Tally for productivity. I've spoken at BCAS. I've spoken at Hyderabad branch, a lot of places. Feel free to look into it. Thank you, sir. Over to the organizers.
I think it was a wonderful presentation. Briefly, you summarized everything which we need to know about Tally and more about Excel also. The majority of professionals, chartered accountants, are now using these facilities, particularly in Tally. Many of the features complete in audit, everything. No, very useful for all of us if you understand it and utilize it. And at present, the current situation, the COVID situation, this is very, I think, really the need of the hour, I think. We can sit at home or we can sit at office and get into the Tally of our clients and do all the audits and all. Yes. Anyway, it was a wonderful presentation. I should really thank you personally for agreeing to be here and making the presentation. Official vote of thanks and other details will be given by Jos. But I think we need more. I think in data analysis, something which we need something little bit extra. I think that we will also think about it at a later stage. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Over to Jos, please. Jos, unmute, Jos, unmute.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much, sir, Narasimhan Elangovan, sir, for that wonderful presentation on this audit tool in Excel and Tally. Actually, we have seen Tally, we use Tally, but a lot of, tools which you are elaborated on how to do the audit on this. So I think it will be very helpful to most of us, most of the participants here. Maybe some of the facilities we use, but you have given a elaborate discussion on that. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. And I also thank all the participants for their active participation here. Actually, we have tested 150 participants today. I think, yes, that much. The topic is that much relevant for all of us at this point of time, especially. So thank you very much, and thank you all the participants. Thank you all the managing committee members who were here in this program. And there are a few announcements. We have a CPE seminar tomorrow, the virtual CPE seminar on standards on auditing. And CA RS Balaji from Chennai will be joining us tomorrow, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. That is the time. And on 17th, Friday, we have another standards on auditing, audit conclusions and reporting. Tomorrow we have standards on auditing, audit evidence. And on Friday, we have standards on auditing, audit conclusions and reporting. We have CA Chinnaswamy Ganeshan from Chennai for us faculty for that day. And apart from that, we already informed all the participants last week regarding refresher course on GST. Now the approval has been, we have received approval. The dates are fixed. It's starting on 20th July to next 5 days. That is 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. We have refresher course on GST. We expect we have 3 hours CPE every day. So 5 day we'll be getting 15 hours CPE credit. And this is arranged by hosting by Ernakulam branch in association with all the help from Indirect Tax Committee of ICI New Delhi. And there is a fee for this program, refresher course, 1,200 plus GST. But for all Ernakulam ARS members, it will be free. So there will be 15 hours of CPE credits coming from next week, 1 week program, 5 days program, refresher course on GST. We will be sending a detailed mail. We have a very eminent faculties for the taking the classes. Time will be 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That is the time sanctioned from New Delhi. So more details will be there. The details about the subject and details about the faculty will be emailed to all the members here. So thank you very much. That's the announcement for the next week.